BallPark Figures, the End Zone Experts Exchange, the only NFL podcast filmed in front of a live audience in historic Georgetown, South Carolina, the county which is the home of 2024 Olympic gold medalist Melissa Jefferson. Here's Abe.
After beating the Cowboys 47-9 at home, have the Lions replaced the Boys as America's team? With Amari Cooper being traded to the Bills, which dip will he order with his buffalo wings? Ranch or blue cheese? Devontae Adams has rejoined his former captain Aaron Rodgers in New York. Will they relive their 2018 season and not make playoffs? We'll ponder all these things and more today on BallPark Figures.
A ballpark figure. Clearly this is an American phrase. Figure refers to number. This is referring to money. Not a specific number, but a general idea. Are we talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions? A ballpark figure. An approximate estimate.
Where are you going to go to get any players? Seriously, where are you going to go to get any players for the next week against San Francisco? Yeah, but what is your counter? What is your damn counter?
My counter is...
I really want to know where you would go get it. Now, don't tell me about should gotten a guy in the off season.
Why not?
This isn't a damn word argument just because I'm not arguing with you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to BallPark Figures, your end zone experts exchange. I'm your trusted neighbor, Abe. There's too much to get into right now, so we're going to go ahead and hop into the Week 6 recap. All right, starting off with last Thursday night's game, the 49ers versus the Seahawks. Just like I told you guys, the 49ers went in there and took control early on, but they did lose Jordan Mason to an injury. That was the big loss for the Niners in that game. Brock Purdy had a great game. Debo put up over 100 yards receiving. This win made San Fran the leader of their division. Big game going in, division rivals. San Francisco 49ers for the win. All right, next we have our international game, the Jaguars versus the Bears. This was Caleb Williams' breakout game, 4 touchdowns for Caleb Williams. You know, if you want to look back on the first week of BallPark Figures at the beginning of the season, I told you guys that Caleb Williams was not a bust. Even though he looked like a bust the first 2 weeks, he has been simply on fire the last 4 weeks. And now the Chicago Bears are in the top 10. They are looking simply amazing with Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, and a really strong defense. The tight end Cole Kmet put in major work in this game as well, along with DeAndre Swift with a touchdown on the ground. Chicago Bears for the win. Of course, the Cardinals lost to Green Bay at Lambeau Field, and Jordan Love put on a great show with 4 touchdowns in the air. 2 to Dobbs, who just came back from a suspension. Beautiful touchdown pass to Dobbs from Jordan Love. Wasn't hard to predict. Green Bay Packers for the win.
3rd and 4, here comes the blitz. Garnett providing the pressure. Love walks it up. Oh, what an adjustment.
All right, the Indianapolis Colts, they headed down to Tennessee to face the Titans, and Joe Flacco put in work like the veteran that he really is. 2 touchdowns in the air. He brought it home. A very battered Indianapolis Colts team. But they took it home against their division rival, the Tennessee Titans. Colts for the win. All right, the Steelers versus the Raiders. Very boring first half, just field goals. But the Steelers took control of the game with field goals in the second quarter. And Najee Harris had his first 100-yard game of the season, which was just enough with the great work of their kicker to give Pittsburgh the win. Steelers for the win. All right, Lions versus Cowboys, the biggest beatdown of them all. 47-9, giving Cowboys their 3rd loss at home this season. They're 0-3 at home winless, and Jerry Jones was right there watching the whole thing for the whole world to see his reaction.
What's your point?
My point is, it seems like
Listen, let me tell you what I'll do. About it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio. You have got to be smoking something over there this morning. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to
So
ask
y'all get
why.
a job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
Cowboys simply did not have any answers whatsoever for Detroit. David Montgomery had a huge game. Jared Goff had a huge game. And of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And who can forget about the tight end Sam Laporta? The Lions beat Dallas so severely. This was the worst beatdown they've ever had at home since Jerry Jones was on the team. It's pretty crazy. You know, the worst home loss since 1989. All right, the NFC South battle, the Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. Of course, the Falcons beat the Panthers for the 3rd time straight. Red Rifle, I do think the team is better with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, but it's still the rest of the team, and of course the defense, cannot hang with the rest of the league. That's why the Falcons are top 10 and the Panthers are number 32. The Falcons proved that they had multiple ways to win. Bijan had 2 touchdowns. Even Todd Algiers, the backup running back, had over 100 yards. Kirk Cousins is efficient as always. He's been earning his money all season. Atlanta Falcons for the win. All right, the Bengals versus the New York Giants, 2 bottom feeder teams. It was a defensive battle most of the game. You know, Joe Burrow ran in a touchdown late in the game that gave them just what they needed to get past the New York Giants for the win. Cincinnati Bengals for the win. Bills and Jets, very exciting game. Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers. A bit of a battle for New York in a sense, with the Giants being in the dumpster. Aaron Rodgers threw a huge Hail Mary, but it was not enough. The game was tied going into the 4th quarter, with the Bills kicking the game-winning field goal. Buffalo Bills for the win. Houston Texans versus the Patriots. C.J. Stroud and the Texans completely blew out the Patriots, of course, in Drake May's first start, moving Houston Texans into the number 3 spot on the NFL Power Rankings, right behind the Chiefs and the Vikings. Texans for the win. All right, the Buccaneers versus the Saints, extremely fun to watch. And of course, the fans in Florida were happy to see this after their big storm. 51-27. Baker went off with 4 touchdowns. Chris Godwin had over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns. Great game for the Bucs. Tons of scoring every which way. Tampa for the win. All right, the lowly Cleveland Browns went to Philadelphia to face the Eagles, who were coming off of bye. This was the return of the wide receiver A.J. Brown, who's been out for a few weeks due to injury. A.J. looked great, over 100 yards receiving, with a touchdown from Jalen Hurts, who put up 2 touchdowns altogether. Looked fairly strong. Let's hope that Philly has pulled it together during their bye week. We don't want to see them falling asleep behind the wheel like they did last season. Eagles for the win. The nightmare just does not end in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson is having one of the worst seasons a quarterback could have, and that's with him playing in the same league as Bryce Young and Daniel Jones. Philly for the win. Commanders versus Ravens. This is the game that had so many of us excited. We get to see Jaden Daniels, the breakout rookie star, go against Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP. The Ravens took control of the game in the 2nd quarter and just did not let up like they normally do. When they lose, they let up late in the game, but they didn't let up in this one. They did not want to lose to the Commanders. It was almost like a duel between Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. And Derrick Henry, King Henry, did amazing on the ground. He still has it, folks. Baltimore for the win. All right, the divisional game, Chargers versus the Broncos. The Chargers surprisingly pulled past the Broncos. I thought the Broncos would have won this. And Surtain ended up getting a concussion in the loss. The Chargers, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, seem like they are really starting to mesh. Justin Herbert put on a strong show, and J.K. Dobbins got a touchdown on the ground. LA Chargers for the win. And now for my Week 7 predictions. Okay, Denver will be taking a trip to New Orleans. It's going to be exciting to see a strong defense. Who knows if Surtain will play? I'm not really sure yet. But if he does not, I believe that the strong offense of the Saints will prevail. New Orleans Saints for the win. New England versus Jacksonville Jaguars, two of the worst teams in the game. But the Jaguars, full of promise, will be playing at home. I will have to take Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville for the win. Tennessee Titans versus Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's coming off of a strong divisional win last week against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Titans have been really struggling this game other than the blowout win they had a few weeks ago against Miami. It's going to be fun to watch. Buffalo Bills for the win. Alright guys, the lowly Bengals will be heading to Cleveland to play the lowly Browns. I am going to have to take the Bengals in this one. I still believe in Joe Burrow, and I love Jamar Chase. I really wish Burrow would get traded before the trade deadline. Cincinnati Bengals for the win. Alright, the Houston Texans will be heading to Lambeau Field to take on Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. This is going to be an amazing game to watch. Both top 10 teams, both coming off of huge victories. I'm going to have to take the home team, Jordan Love, and the Green Bay Packers for the win. Miami Dolphins will be heading to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Two very, very struggling teams. Both these teams have had struggles with injuries this season and inconsistency. I believe that I'm going to have to take the Indianapolis Colts for the win. Okay, I predict this next game will be most likely the game of the week. We're going to watch the number 4 Detroit go to Minnesota to take the number 1 Vikings on this week. It should be extremely exciting. One thing that really hurts Detroit in this one is, of course, they're the away team, but they lost Aiden Hutchinson last week, one of the top defensive ends in the game. Now their defense is still extremely strong. I do believe it will not be enough to stop Sam Darnold and Double J, Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings for the win. Alright, Philadelphia Eagles coming off of a win, heading to New York for the divisional game against the Giants. I don't believe that the New York Giants are going to be able to hang with Philly in this one. Philly looked efficient last week coming off of their bye week. I'm going to have to take Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles for the win. The Las Vegas Raiders heading to LA to face the Rams. I feel like the Rams have lost so many games this season. I think it's time for them to have a win. I'm going to have to take the home team, LA Rams, for the win. Alright, now time for our Safe Crackers Lock Pick of the Week. For the Safe Crackers Lock Pick of the Week, I take the Washington Commanders winning at home against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, even though I really am a fan of Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, they cannot catch a break. And I feel bad for the players at this point because, I mean, the owner, David Tepper, he completely diminished the defense this past offseason, getting rid of Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin with a host of others. And he just destroyed the offense 2 seasons ago when we got rid of Christian McCaffrey, among others, and DJ Moore. With the newly rebuilt, heavily mediocre offense that the Panthers currently have with Andy Dalton and Deontay Johnson, it's not enough, and our defense cannot stop nothing. We just keep losing and losing and losing. I do believe there's a very strong chance that the Panthers will go 1-16. 1-16. That's what it's looking like for the Panthers. I would be surprised if we win any games moving forward. So, Safe Crackers Lock Pick of the Week. Washington Commanders for the win. Alright, Kansas City will be heading to San Fran to the West Coast to play the 49ers. A replay of 2 separate Super Bowls of the last 5 years. It's going to be so much fun to watch. With the heavily injured San Francisco depth chart, I do think that the 49ers will lose at home to the continued defeatless reign of the Kansas City Chiefs. New York versus Pittsburgh, we get to see Devontae Adams reunited with Aaron Rodgers. There's a chance Najee Harris may not play. We'll have to see. I think they really will want him to play, so we'll see what happens. But I think I'm going to have to say Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers and Alan Lazard, Breece Hall, the New York Jets for the win. The Baltimore Ravens coming off of a huge win. Probably the best team in the league with 2 losses. The Ravens will be heading to Tampa Bay to take on the supercharged Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. The list goes on and on. This is going to be a very tough one to call. I believe this is going to be a very exciting game. I know that Tampa still has major injuries. I'm going to have to take the Super Bowl hopeful Baltimore Ravens for the win.
It's all right, Jerry. It's all right, Jerry. We got it. Hey, we got it. We got it. We got it. We got it, Steven.